two huge names that stood out in the most recent selection of prospects to come in. The Steelers are nearing that 30 mark on these top 30 visits. Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon, probably the top corner in the class. Don't expect him to fall out of the top 10. I don't think many expect him to fall out of the top 10. And then the other one is Clayton Tune, Houston quarterback. Major questions there, but his stat line's pretty impressive. We looked it up before the show. The guy's, you know, he's got some marks to look at and say, oh, okay, maybe there's a little bit of optimism here. Let's start with Christian Gonzalez. You bring in the top cornerback in the class. Do you look at this as they're just doing their homework? Because in my opinion, there's no point in doing homework. Like you're not bringing in Jalen Carter hoping that he slides out of the top 10. Why would you bring in Christian Gonzalez thinking he's going to slide out of the top 10 unless their mindset is maybe this is the guy that we're going to move up for? If they're thinking like that.
Well, yeah, just how much homework do you have to do? You know, this guy's been the top corner in the draft, you know, maybe not the top corner in the draft, but at least top 2, top 3 for months, like going back to the beginning of the year, I guess in January. But like there are no surprises. There should be no surprises with this guy already. So I don't get it in that sense. I feel like if they were, I just don't know what a meeting with Christian Gonzalez would tell you that the film and everything you saw at the combine and everything else and whatever informal meetings they've had with him wouldn't have told them, you know?
Yeah.
If you're not sold on Christian Gonzalez yet, what did you need to see?
That's what I'm saying. Like what was why are you, it would be one thing if it was like, oh, they had a formal interview with them at the combine, just like you said. And then you're like, oh, okay, cool. Well, like, you know, this is an opportunity to meet with them, but you only have 30 pre-draft visits. You're clearly spending time on later round guys because you're looking at a quarterback when you don't necessarily need a quarterback. Why are you wasting a visit on a guy that, for one, isn't going to be there at 17? And there's not like a trend. Like it's not like there's like, oh, well, there's question marks. There's no question marks. It's Christian Gonzalez is just consensus top corner, maybe number 2 corner in the draft. And even if he's number 2, like he's pick 9 or pick 10 instead of pick 6. Like it just doesn't make sense to me to say, oh, well, we're just going to do our homework on all of the top corners. It's like, yeah, I get that definitely, but you're also looking at defensive linemen. You're not talking to Jalen Carter. You know, you're not inviting Will Anderson in for a pre-draft visit. Like, you know, Paris Johnson didn't come in for a pre-draft visit. It just, you know, like why Christian Gonzalez? It's just a big, giant question mark on their thinking of, you know, maybe they are like, maybe they're looking at this situation and going, if he's there at 12, 13, he's clearly the best corner in the draft. But I think like at that point, like, you know, why are you taking Keely Ringo out to dinner like 2 months after you met with them at his pro day?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like why are you falling in love with all these other guys? Why, you know, it's not like if you draft Christian Gonzalez or you miss Christian Gonzalez and you have to settle for Joey Porter Jr., you're like, oh man, we missed out. Like,
that's the other thing. Like if Christian Gonzalez is falling, you're going to get a great guy, especially at corner, like a guy that you really like at that same position at your pick that you don't even have to move for. I don't understand this really at all. But I don't know. Maybe they're thinking of moving up. I don't know. Like maybe they're moving up in the top 10 for him.
That's the thing is like, it'd have to be in the top 10 because just like you said, like if he slides, like, you know, with Jalen Carter, and I want to talk about Jalen Carter in a minute, but with a guy like Jalen Carter, if he slides to 11 or 12, you're on the phone for him. If Christian Gonzalez slides to 11 or 12, and even like Devin Witherspoon goes in the top 10 in front of him, well, Joey Porter Jr. is still on the board. Keely Ringo's still on the board. Emmanuel Forbes is still on the board. Tyreek Stevenson's still on the board. Cam Smith's still on the board. Like, you know, like there's just almost no need to say, oh, well, we got to go get our guy and make a move here. Like there's chances are somebody's going to be there. Now, if he slides to 15, maybe you're like, okay, you know, let's move up and go get our guy here. 2 picks. You're not going to have to give up much. but like the chances of that are so slim,
Right.
especially compared to names like Peter Skoronski, who they haven't brought in for a pre-draft visit, Paris Johnson, who they haven't brought in for a pre-draft visit. Like, why is it the top corner that might slide instead of left tackles who likely will be there from 10 to 15, that maybe you should be focusing on those instead of this guy.
Right. And it's that on top of the fact that Ringo and Forbes and not Witherspoon, Porter. But yeah, there are going to be so many other corners so you can draft at that 17 pick or even later. So if you want to move up for something else.
You see this guy right here?
Little guest appearance.
He's been standing behind me the whole time.
He's furious at the idea of the Steelers wasting a top 30 visit on.
He's furious because I went home for the weekend to my parents' house to enjoy Easter with my family.
Yeah.
And I came back and he's just like, did you know that you left me for 2 whole days? Well, I don't know what you're doing. So now he's just sitting here the whole day.
Making up for lost time.
Yeah. He made 2 guest appearances while you were gone as well. The guy just, I think he's come for your job, if we're being honest.
Okay.
I think not that he's got a shot, but I think Fitzgerald's, he's tossing his name out there like, hey man, you need another co-host. I got you.
I got my eye on him. But
good old Fitzy.
But yeah, where were we? But yeah, like going for trading up for a corner, which you're gonna have your pick of the rest. It's a deep cornerback class. You're gonna have your pick of the rest of the guys instead of looking at one of these offensive linemen or Jalen Carter who could fall. Yeah, this just weird. It feels like a weird allocation of your time and your resources when you'll have options.
All Steelers Talk has officially launched their own clothing brand, Black and Gold Apparel, now available on bonfire.com or at the shop tab at our YouTube page. Your new favorite place for Steelers t-shirts, sweatshirts, and crew necks, now out, now available in multiple designs, including some of my favorites, Kenny Comeback, Mute, and Kenny DeGeorge. Check them all out at bonfire.com or on the shop tab at our YouTube page.